start this edition with some news just coming in. Uddhav faction has moved Supreme Court with a fresh plea challenging the whip issued by the new chief whip. The plea also challenges the action of the speaker that recognized the whip issued by the new chief whip as the whip of the Shiv Sena. The plea is going to be heard on the 11th of July. Mustafa Sheikh has more details on that story. Mustafa, take us through the details of the plea, the new plea that has been filed by the Uddhav faction in the Apex Court.
Well, yes, as we knew that for earlier it was 16 MLA suspension which was with the Supreme Court, and now because Eknath Shinde faction is issuing whips, they are likely to issue notices to the Uddhav camp MLAs. Hence, the Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray has moved to Supreme Court saying that this is illegal, they cannot do that. The party chief is still Uddhav Thackeray and the symbol of arrow and bow arrow is still with Uddhav Thackeray. Hence, this kind of whips and other suspension notices cannot be issued. So this is the plea which has been filed in the Supreme Court by Uddhav Thackeray faction. The hearing is soon to take place on 11th of July. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Back to you.
Mustafa, be with us in fact to tell our viewers that any time now the trust vote will be starting. The speaker, as you can see, is on the chair. Any moment from now we will see the trust vote. Mustafa, when it comes to the numbers of Uddhav faction, that's clearly dwindling. In that sense, it's setback after setback with another one MLA joining the Eknath Shinde camp, isn't it?
Yes, interestingly what we know is that one MLA will be voting with for Eknath Shinde because he moved in with the other MLAs at Taj President Hotel last night. But also importantly that Aditya Thackeray, who is also an MLA, has not reached the assembly yet. What we are hearing from our reporters inside the assembly that the BJP has already moved for trust vote. The movement has been done by MLA Sudhir Mungantiwar and it has been seconded by Bharat Gogale, who is the chief whip of the Shiv Sena. So the process of this entire trust vote has already started in the assembly, but what we see here as of now is that Aditya Thackeray is nowhere to be seen in the assembly. So yes, the numbers of the Shiv Sena MLAs in the assembly is dwindling down. Back to you.
Number of the MLAs dwindling, and from here on, whatever really happens on the floor of the House, essentially, and that is rather predictable, Mustafa, given the numbers at least right now, it's clear that the battle ahead is going to be a legal one as well, given that this new plea is going to come up before the Supreme Court only on the 11th of July.
Are Vivek? Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Mustafa, I was asking you that there is going to be a long drawn battle ahead as well, isn't it?
Yes, of course, because what we were hearing earlier that it was the 11th schedule according to which Eknath Shinde has to merge with a party. He cannot have a separate fraction in the Shiv Sena itself, but that is something which he is doing. He has formed the government, he has become the chief minister, not even joining any other political party. He claims to be from Shiv Sena. What the law says in this is something we'll have to wait and see, because it is right that if you have 2/3 of the MLAs, the anti-defection law does not apply to you. You can be the CLP leader, but can the party symbol be shared is something which the Supreme Court now has to decide, because it is entirely happening what we see inside Maharashtra Assembly, and we'll have to wait and see what really happens. We are getting to see is MLC Sachin Ahir of the Shiv Sena, who is going outside the gate. It's likely that Aditya Thackeray may arrive anytime soon, but as of now he has not arrived. The trust vote has been moved. Assembly is preparing for it. The voting will happen as it happened yesterday by counting numbers. We'll have to wait and see what happens. The government will be formed, but yet it will be entangled into many legal issues. Back to you.
Yes, and apart from this, Mustafa, the larger issue that the Thackerays would be looking at is about the legacy of Bala Saheb Thackeray. Now, one may argue that the MLAs are with Eknath Shinde. Many of them would be fearing disqualification, and that's why they would have gone over to the Shinde camp. But at the end of the day, this is going to be about the legacy of Bala Saheb that both of these factions would really want to appropriate, isn't it?
Santosh. Yes, of course, it's clear that now the pressure is on the Uddhav Thackeray faction. Since election of new speaker yesterday, Rahul Narwekar, the tables have turned and we are getting to see that the Uddhav faction of Shiv Sena MLAs is under a lot of pressure, and after they vote, if they vote against Eknath Shinde, then it's very much likely that the speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly will be issuing disqualification notice against these MLAs. So we'll have to wait and see actually really what happens. We'll just take you back. Aditya Thackeray has arrived finally as we were waiting. The Aditya Thackeray has reached assembly for the floor test. The floor test has just begun. Aditya Thackeray has arrived in the assembly, and we'll have to see the division of votes will be happening. The live visual will show you of the Shiv Sena MLA Aditya Thackeray who is entering the assembly. MP Arvind Sawant of the Shiv Sena, they have moved the Supreme Court, as you were rightly saying, and the hearing has to take place on 11th of July. So now the tables are set. The election of floor test for Eknath Shinde government will happen right now. But what happens legally, it's something which will take some time in the Supreme Court. Back to you.
That is going to take some time in the court. Any time now, the trust vote will start. We're putting out these pictures of Eknath Shinde that you all had been getting for us. Mustafa, the minute he came in, he in fact flashed the victory sign, the body language, and the kind of support that he's received from the MLAs just says it all, that today really is going to be a cakewalk for Shinde, isn't it?
Yes, of course, it's going to be, something for Shinde faction now. The floor is set, and it's likely that they will win this trust vote. But there is a long drawn legal battle, and also adding to this, the government which has to be formed. There are cabinet ministries which are to be distributed. We are hearing that there are a lot of demands from the Shinde camp MLAs to get ministerial berths and portfolios, while the same demand is being made by the BJP, which has the highest number of MLAs. So what happens after this cabinet portfolios is distributed, whether there will be some enmity, because already Sharad Pawar has predicted that this government will not last more than 6 months, and re-election can happen very soon in Maharashtra. So we'll have to wait and see whether that is the scenario which really builds up, because what we are now seeing is a government taking shape. The government is clearly not between Shiv Sena and BJP. The government is between Eknath Shinde faction and BJP also. What is more important is that whether this new government functions well, because BJP and Fadnavis have a number of about 120. They have 106 MLAs of their own, rest independent MLAs. Even then, he is a deputy chief minister. Earlier from 2014 to 19, he was the chief minister. So these are power struggles which can lead to enmity while the government is not formed. So there are a lot of questions as of now. One can raise a lot of things which are going to happen. We'll have to wait and see what happens today, and after that, when it comes to cabinet berths, who gets what.